I have to admit, there's something about a retro style motorcycle that's quite appealing. Now, many of you might think that has to do with the old school design, the chrome bits, or the sound coming out of the exhaust. Well, Benelli's brought the Imperiale 400 to India, aimed squarely at those who are charmed by such retro style motorcycles. Well, does this Benelli have what it takes? Will it tick the right boxes? We are about to find that out. And where else can we begin than talk about the design? Because Benelli certainly has come up with a motorcycle that looks attractive. This Imperiale 400 sticks to the retro style motorcycle design theme to the T. Everything from the round headlamp to the indicators, the shape of the tank to this rubberized tank pad over here screams retro. At the same time, I like the way this split seat has been shaped, especially with the springs underneath that not only looks period correct but also serves a functional purpose. The shape of the rear fender is well executed, while the oval tail lamp sticks out like the one on the Motor B from the 1950s. Overall, I like the Imperiale's silhouette, but how can a classic motorcycle look complete without a smattering of chrome? I like how Benelli has restrained itself from taking a bucket full of chrome and splashing it all over the motorcycle. There's chrome in just about the right places, like on the wheels, handlebar, mirrors, indicators, and that grab rail over there. Now, while that's the shiny bit, the blacked out engine and exhaust adds that crucial contrast. So overall, the Imperiale 400 looks classy without trying too hard. The twin-pod instrument panel looks great as well, courtesy of the analog dials for speed and RPM. I don't think I'll ever tire of watching a pair of needles swooping across a dial, and it certainly evokes some of that old school feel. The Imperiale's ergonomics are quite comfortable. The seat height is at 780 mm, the handlebar is nice and wide, and while the edges are tapered slightly towards the rider, it results in a position that's nice and upright. So whether it's riding on the streets or long highway cruises, this Imperiale should be really comfortable. And those of you who are already dreaming of riding this Benelli up the high mountain passes in Ladakh, that large 19-inch front wheel should make it easier to tackle broken roads or sections where none exist. But keep in mind that like all affordable bikes running spoked wheels, these tires are not tubeless. Also, the 165 mm ground clearance should be adequate, but not enough to scale big rocks without scraping the underbelly. Okay, so the Imperiale 400 ticks the design box, but within this tubular crater chassis is an all-new 374cc engine. And I am as curious as you are to find out if this engine has the potential to keep one engaged. The air-cooled motor belts out 21 horsepower at 5500 rpm and 29 Nm of torque at 4500 rpm, which is adequate to get the Imperiale 400 up to speed quickly. And I was also surprised to know that the engine is quite happy to rev. Power delivery is linear, but the motor only begins to come alive post 2500 rpm. Below this, the engine does not have the same kind of low-end torque as its direct rival. However, once you get past 2500 rpm, there's a strong surge all the way to the 6000 rpm redline. In fact, it's surprising that the rev needle goes all the way to 7000 rpm before bouncing off the rev limiter. It makes the performance quite engaging for a modern classic, as the Imperiale feels quick enough to get past 100 km/h and beyond. That said, the engine begins to feel out of breath after 120 km/h. But I believe that's alright, considering that the Imperiale is purpose-built to cruise at a calm pace on the highway and not attempt a land speed record, and it does so remarkably well. There are barely any vibrations to speak of while cruising at highway speeds between 80 to 100 km/h, and that makes the Imperiale reasonably capable over long distances. But besides tackling highways, the engine has sufficient low-end torque to manage city traffic. Overall, the engine is one of the strongest assets, and paired to a smooth 5-speed gearbox, it makes easy work of everything you throw at it. With the design and engine boxes checked, it would be a shame if the ride and handling wasn't up to the task, and thankfully, the Imperiale doesn't disappoint in these aspects as well. The suspension is tuned on the softer side, but at the same time, it's pliant enough to tackle most of the potholes and undulations that are encountered on the way. Only the sharpest of bumps are transmitted to the rider, but crucially, the rear shocks don't bottom out while riding over such roads. And while the ride quality is good, the handling is confidence-inspiring despite what the 205 kg curb weight suggests. Once the bike is off the stand, you don't feel the weight, and on the move the Imperiale feels surprisingly light on its feet. While riding in the city, the wide handlebar offers enough leverage to steer past traffic. And when you encounter a winding road, the 1440mm wheelbase translates to a planted feel mid-corner. Direction changes are slower because of the long wheelbase, but it fits with the relaxed demeanor of the motorcycle. Credit for the stable handling also goes to the sticky TVS Remora tires. The brakes offer strong bite, but I feel the adjustable brake lever was angled a little too far out, even at the closest setting. Also, the ABS is super sensitive, and braking hard over a few bumps made the system kick in abruptly, which isn't a nice feeling. When you consider the 1.69 lakh rupee ex-showroom price, the Imperiale 400 starts to make a lot of sense. Here's a motorcycle that looks good, is well finished, quite comfortable to ride, but more importantly, it comes with an engine that's nice and refined, especially at highway speeds. And that's where this motorcycle truly shines. Because riding a retro-style motorcycle down the highway at a relaxed pace, there's a certain romance about it, a certain charm. And I think that is what warrants the price of this motorcycle. The Imperiale 400 holds immense promise and has everything in its arsenal to battle with the other motorcycles in the segment. As far as cost of ownership, service experience and reliability is concerned, it's too early to comment. But judging by what we've experienced so far, you'd be wrong to overlook this Benelli if you're in the market for a classic machine.